Hey guys, welcome back to my PHI Games in History. Uh, so this is part 2 of my history of rock. If you have not seen part 1, I recommend you go watch it, because a lot of stuff I talked about in here, you probably won't get it unless you seen last episode. It's kind of like watching Endgame without seeing Infinity War. Yeah. Okay. So we left off with the Rocket 88. And a lot of people, if you watched the last episode, was like, why is this car so special? I'll tell you why. One day, a group of musicians, whose name was Jackie Benson, as you can, he's in the top left corner, and that Ike Turner, by the way, he ends up going solo, and doing somewhat okay. Yeah, that'd be a fun fact. So the guy in top left, 1951, they're driving down to Memphis. So one of the amps falls off the top of the car, because back then they strapped stuff to the top of the cars, unlike today. They kind of strap stuff on, kind of like if you strap like a Christmas tree on a car that you see during Christmas time. That's kind of what they did. But this would be like with stuff like this could be like pianos, mattresses, boxes, what they were doing with the amplifiers. And so they're heading down to go to a place called Sun Records. And they're in Sun Records, they're going to go meet a guy whose name is Sam Phillips. Once they get there, Sam Phillips fixes the amp by putting newspaper and they play a song called Rocket 88. This song is revolutionary for two major reasons. First things first, it's considered the first rock and roll song, and second things second, it's the first song to have guitar distortion due to the newspapers. So the song did relatively well. It went number 1 on the R&B charts. Sun Records got paid nothing because it wasn't a record label yet. And because of that, Sam Phillips would make it a label from then on. And so, yeah. So, yeah, it's actually kind of a cool song. I highly recommend listening to it. So let's fast forward a couple years, and another band comes out. Their names are Bill Haley and His Comets. We're just only going to talk about them now. We're not really going to mention them. The reason why they're mostly famous is because, well, before they found out about Rocket 88, everyone thought he was the father of rock and roll. Everyone thought Bill Haley, the guy up top, was kind of hunched over everyone. Anyone thought he was the guy who created rock and roll music. No, it was Jackie and his Delta Cats. And so a lot of people at first, well, basically for a long time up until recently, thought his song, I think it's called Crazy Crazy Man, something like that, was the first rock and roll song. It came out in 1953. But no, it was Rocket 88. That came out 2 years earlier. And the car is Oldsmobile 88. See that connection? Yeah, so thank the Hot Rodders for rock and roll music. They're the guys that did it. Okay, so yeah. So then, they had a couple other hits. Two you might be familiar with. The most famous one is Rock Around the Clock. And just look it up. I can put like links in the description below about the songs I talk about. Well, it kind of depends if I remember doing it, because I forget a lot of stuff. Yeah. So, yeah. Wow. So you probably recognize that song. That song was really big, and it still kind of is still somewhat popular today. Like if you put it on, I think everyone would at least heard of it like once in a lifetime. Yeah, it's kind of popular. Next is Shake, Rattle, and Roll, which is probably the second biggest one. That one is, if you're like a guy who listens to rock music, you probably heard it at least a handful of times. Also, Rock on the Clock has been like in like Happy Days and like American Graffiti, stuff like that. So yeah. And also they have another hit called See You Later Alligator, which you probably would not recognize. So yeah. Now, so back at Sun Records, Sam Phillips was well, just working one day when a young kid came in. His name was Elvis Presley, um, and he recorded a couple songs for his mom, and because son was struggling to survive, and they thought, hey, let's just do a thing that anyone can come in and like for $3 they can make like a single-sided two-side record, because back then they had your big long playing vinyl, you had your 45s, but there was kind of like one in the middle that it was not, it was kind of like a 40, it was a little bit bigger than a 45, but it didn't have it, but it might have been the same size as a 45, but maybe a little bit bigger. Trying, yeah, maybe a little bit bigger than a 45, but they, instead of having a big hole in the middle, had like a little like regular. I'll show you what a 45 is. If you go back and see the chest has a little hole to put the tube in, I meant to put the little like stick in to play the record. A 45 has a big circle where you put like a little like circle. Well, we put it on. Well, I put a little circle thing on there as a little stick. Then you put the 45 thing in. Yeah, you see it in the next slide. So Elvis goes in, does the record. He gives it to Elvis. He leaves, and Sam Phillips takes a mental note in his brain that, hey, this could be something. And so one day a band comes in and they don't have a singer. I think the singer's like sick. It's like so they get in saying cause I'm sick. And so he's like, hey, this would be a great moment to bring Elvis in. And he brought in Elvis. And so they started doing some stuff, and nothing really worked out. And so the band was kind of about like, hey, it's like a break, and we're kind of pretty much about to leave. And so Elvis kind of started jamming by himself, and all of a sudden started singing this song. The song was called That's Alright, and yeah. Okay, see that big thing this is a 45 record. And actually in the next picture, you can see what I was talking about. So they sing it, and so Elvis and the band leaves, and Sam Phillips realized like, hey, this is good, this is different, and so he takes it to a local friend whose name is I think it is Dewey Phillips, and yeah, so see the record that he has, that's a little bit. That's what I was talking about. So that's what have been Sun Records would have done. That one that's on the turnable, that's the one that they would have given out. Something like along that size. And so they go. So this guy is probably. I don't want to say he's mental, but he's kind of crazy. He's the most popular DJ in town. He's known for screaming. Literally, if it's a record he doesn't like, he's known for using it as a frisbee and flying it against the glass of the studio. And known for singing the song if he doesn't like it, because a lot of people, because it's Memphis, and a lot of in like Memphis and almost all Tennessee is like a music city, music state, because you have Memphis, basically rock and roll was born, and then you have Nashville, which is like the biggest, like it's like the country music capital of the world, kind of thing, and so he plays a lot of demo tapes at this point, and if he doesn't like them, he will smash them against his microphone, and yeah, and so Elvis just comes and he plays it, doesn't smash it. And he starts getting like requests to play it again and again and again, and I think got like over 20 some requests that night to play it again, and so they knew that they had something. Later that same year, these two guys, I kind of sadly forgot their names, but these two guys had a friend, and their friend well, one was a guitar player and the other was a bass player. Back then, guys, that's what a bass was. We don't they didn't have electric basses until late 50s, early 60s, maybe early 60s. But they had a friend whose name was Johnny Cash, and they're like, hey, you should go to Sun Records and see if you can get a recording deal with them, because Sun Records was kind of looking for some people to record. And so they went to him, and he sang some music, sang some gospel songs, and Sam Phillips like, I like your sound, I like how your voice is, but you pick a different song, and so he leaves, picks some different songs, come back, and just nails it, and he gets signed on, and then later that year, another dude, his name is Carl Perkins, comes in and kind of does the exact same thing. He did audition and nailed it. So then, because he had all these people under him, he started a contest. The Sam Phillips decided to start a contest saying, whoever can get the first #1 hit will win a Cadillac. Carl Perkins on blue suede shoes. So So next we have a guy named Little Richard. Everyone knows Little Richard died. He just recently died. Well, for me, it would have been a couple months ago, but when this video comes out, it's been maybe about a year almost. He was trying to become an emerging artist, and he created the song Tutti Frutti, which, he went huge after that. He would have other songs like Long Tall Sally and stuff like that. And then also around this time, another guy named Fats Domino came on the scene too. He would have hits like Ain't That a Shame and in Blueberry Hill. So let's go up to Chicago. Let's go north for a little bit. So up in Chicago, it's 1955, and a young African American guy is trying to get a music deal. His name is Chuck Berry. He bumps into a guy named, who I mentioned last episode, Muddy Waters, and then he, basically says go to Chess Records. Chuck Berry would go on to have hits like Johnny B. Good, Maybelline, World of Beethoven, My Ding-a-Ling, no Particular Place to Go, Sweet 16, Brown Eyed Handsome Man. They just keep going on and on. So next we have Jerry Lee Lewis, the Killer. So he came into Memphis and went to Sun Studios, looking for to sing, but he could also play piano. And so he came in and he he's like, hey, I can play piano too, stuff like that. So he hired him to be like a session piano player and also to sing solo and to sing solo. Solo. What's that? It's like my voice dropped. Okay, so which basically means a session piano player. It's like let's say Carl Perkins wants to record a song and you need a piano player. They're like, hey Jay, can you go play piano? And it would be like let's just say if the session guitar player was me, they'd be like, hey you get the guitar, stop playing the song. Yeah, see, stuff like that. And so also around this time, two brothers were trying to find a record deal too. They liked the new sound, and their name was the Everly Brothers. They met a guy whose name was Chet Atkins, who kind of pointed them in the right direction, and who actually was actually a heavy influence in the music world. He went and got them a recording deal at Columbia. Also around the same time back down south, you had a guy came in who was fairly young. He wouldn't go big until the 60s, really. And his name was Roy Orbison, came into Sun Records, but he mostly did songwriting and stuff. In early 1956, Sam Phillips got approached by a company which we talked about earlier in the last episode. This company was called RCA. And RCA had, ever since vinyl and stuff kind of started, they were, trying to produce records and stuff. And RCA, was really good at it. And so they went down to Memphis and was like, hey, we want Elvis. But Sam Phillips, he was in a lot of financial trouble, believe it or not, even though basically the guy I mentioned that was with Sun is like famous now. Well then, he still had financial issues. And so they said, we'll give you $35,000 to $40,000. Back then, that was like a lot of money, and he said yes. And to this day, that is the most anyone has paid for an artist contract. The price of probably of a Volkswagen Beetle as of 2020. Oh yeah, I forgot they don't make those anymore. So I listened to RCA. He went and he would record his first, album. All the things he's recorded before, just little, like singles and stuff, like the 45s I talked about. And, this episode and the last episode talked about them and stuff like that. And he actually, also, he switched management from his guitar player and Sam Phillips, his guitar player, Scotty Moore and Sam Phillips, to a guy named Colonel Tom Parker, which a lot of historians think now was an illegal immigrant from the Netherlands. Yeah, it's pretty messed up. Okay. A lot of stuff's happening in this video. So then Colonel Tom Parker would get Elvis into the movie industry, which he would, stay in until the late 60s. Back at Sun Studios, Elvis, he was so friends with people there, so he always felt that, he was like a teen idol, like this was like the birth of like what people like they call the fangirl kind of thing, there was like no one before that did what Elvis or the Beatles could do. Well, basically what the Beatles did was basically what Elvis did, but on a global scale. Elvis, because he had it, but they think an illegal immigrant as a manager, he didn't travel outside the country. And if he did, he also did very small venues, unlike Grand Ole Opry stuff. So he, he had to act businessy, mature and stuff, and he was still a kid in high school, or just out of high school, so he just he didn't want to do that, but he could always go to Sun and he can just be himself, and that's why he went there. So one day he happened to walk in and Carl Perkins was recording. Jerry Lewis was doing what he did, be on the piano, and so there was three of the biggest, stars, like music stars of the day, were in the same room. And so Sam Phillips called Johnny Cash down, and he came down, because I have four of the biggest stars in music in the exact same room, and Sam Phillips hit the record button and recorded the whole thing. And so, what do the top musicians of all do? They go and jam. That's what they did, they jammed. And so Sam Phillips recorded his entire jam session. And even though it's totally illegal, because technically he did not know his contract anymore, it was totally illegal, but he did it anyway. And it was the $1 Million Quartet. It came known as the $1 Million Quartet, and a lot of people weren't even sure it existed. But in 1986, while going through some old stuff at Sun Records, they found the tape from it, and they realized it actually happened. And now you can get it on CD. Cool. Okay. So, before we get any farther, I thought I would introduce some other music, kind of rock-ish music groups of the day. because we just only mention them now, and then that's it. Like, no, right, we're done. Okay. We also had the Diamonds, who's known for Little Darling and The Stroll. Brenda Lee, who's probably more famous for her song of "Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree" than anything. Next, we had Eddie Cochran, who's probably most famous for his song "Summertime Blues." I think was just recently redone. Next, you had a guy named Del Shannon, who was probably most famous for his song "Runaway," which came out in 1961, but he starred in the 50s. So now, we're getting to a point in the video. This is the late 50s, like 58, stuff like that. And this will be the downfall. What they thought would be the downfall. This is like rock's first low point. Rock has only been around for pretty much 2 years. Like they say that was the first rock song, but it didn't really come mainstream until 1956. And so it all started really with Jerry Lee Lewis. Well, Jerry Lewis, his name was The Killer, and he was, he wasn't really smart around women, and he made his 13-year-old cousin, while touring Britain, the news got out that he married his 13-year-old cousin, because he was pretty much a private guy about his private life. And because back then, it was very easy to keep stuff private back then. Now it's like totally hard, if you're a famous guy trying to still private, people take extreme measures because a phone, because a camera is like the size of like a watch. Back then, the cameras had flash things like the size of lamps, and you carry a lamp, like light bulbs and stuff. Yeah. And so people stopped buying his music, stopped listening to his music, and he had to cancel the tour. He canceled the tour immediately, and then his career was kind of ruined. So his career was kind of ruined. Next, you had Little Richard. He was in Sydney, Australia, doing a concert when a ball of fire went across the sky. Thinking it was a sign of God, he went and he started resenting rock and roll music. I also gotta say, I didn't really talk about much in depth with Jerry Lee Lewis, so I'm gonna go back to him quick. He sung songs like Crazy Arms, Breathless, Whole Lot of Shaking Going On, and Great Balls of Fire. Johnny Cash, Ring of Fire, which we might talk about in the 60s episode. And I Walk the Line. You have Boy Named Sue, and it was kind of always big. It was like on the country charts and stuff. So back to Little Richard. So Little Richard, as I said, he started resenting rock and roll music, even though he was told repeatedly that the thing that he saw in the sky was Sputnik being launched. But back then, it was the first thing to really be launched in space, and anyone thought, what? Yeah. It's not like now, you say, oh, look, there's a plane in the sky. Back then, it was like, what? Like, if you got a guy from, 1950 bombing here and looked up in the sky and saw a plane go by, you're like, what's that? They won't know what that was. Really. Okay, maybe they're good, maybe that's more of a 30s guy, if you bomb it back. If it's a 50s guy and show him a picture of, the rocket they just launched, the Dragon thing they launched, the first launch while making the soil, then there would be what is... Yeah, if you showed them that video, then there would be, first things first, what is the thing you're showing that on? It's so small. What's that, small TV? Then also, they wouldn't know. Yeah, space travel was new. No one did it before. That's what I'm trying to get at. Okay, also, Elvis Presley was drafted into the military, which was, a huge hit. Right now, you lost Jerry Lee Lewis, you've a Little Richard's going out preaching to crowds while rock is bad, and now Elvis in the military. But luckily, Colonel Tom Parker's a pretty smart dude. He started coming out with a whole bunch of albums on Elvis. These would be like little singles he recorded, and like a bunch of singles that he did, kind of put in an album, like greatest hits. And one would be this very iconic Elvis cover. And so to make matters kind of, well, we're going to talk about that yet. Okay, so now late 50s, start 1958, 59. Now a new singer comes out. His name is Buddy Holly. Buddy Holly is a personal hero of mine. I named my guitar after him because I was bored one day, and I just, I didn't know, I talk to myself a lot, and I'm like, hey, guitar. I'm like, I don't like calling guitar. I want to call you something else. Like, I call my tablet Tablido, and then call my other tablet Tablida, like laptopo, iPodio. I always have, like, some cool, like, name for myself. I'm just weird like that. And I'm like, I want to name you something. And then I remembered when I bought the guitar, the guy said, Buddy Holly used one like this. I'm like, hey, I'll name you Holly, and the name has stuck. And so Buddy Holly, he actually opened for a lot of major bands, singers like Elvis, Bill Haley, Carl Perkins, Jay Lewis, basically everyone we've talked about. And so now he had he has lots of hits. Like he had more impact on music than you think. He had the hits like Peggy Sue, That'll Be the Day, but the Beatles' first song that they recorded was a Buddy Holly cover. The Rolling Stones song Not Fade Away, that's a Buddy Holly cover. That's a Buddy Holly cover. Buddy Holly was actually going to name his band the Beatles, but instead named it the Crickets. And yeah. But then he had a lot of big songs like Not Fade Away, Listen to Me Every Day, Oh Boy, Maybe Baby, which is on the American Graffiti soundtrack. I said he had Peggy Sue, Every Day. He has lots of good songs. And he's a guy he liked to record all the time. So he had albums going. I'll talk about that later. So in 1959, he joined up with two other singers, four. A guy named the Big Bopper, who was famous for the song called Chantilly Lace, which was redone by Jerry Lee Lewis in the 70s and was a country hit. And he was a DJ from Texas. And it is a good song. And then you had Ritchie Valens, who was only 17. You probably might recognize the song La Bamba. You have the song Donna, which is pretty big. And then you have Diane and the Belmonts. I wonder why. And so it's called the Winter Dance Party Tour. So one day, during a snowstorm, Big Bopper had the flu, Ritchie Valens had the cold, Buddy Holly just wanted to do some laundry. And so they went on a plane, and so Buddy Holly bought a plane, hired a pilot to fly him to the next show, because they're in a snowstorm, bus had no heat, and so they hired a pilot, and they went, and he originally bought for his band, but this is how sick the Big Bopper was. One of the bandmates felt sympathy and gave up the seat to the Big Bopper. That guy's name was Waylon Jennings, who is really big in like the country world. Waylon Jennings, yeah. And so the other guy, he could tell that Ritchie Valens was doing well either. He had a cold. So he's like, okay, I know you want to go on the plane kind of thing. Let's just flip a coin. So they flipped a coin, and Richie Valens, once he got on the plane, Buddy Holly was like, okay, you guys go freeze to death. Yeah, Buddy Holly, because the bus had no heat, was like, hey, I hope you guys all freeze to death while we be on this plane. Waylon Jennings yells back, I hope you guys crash and die. And then, what? And then, the next morning, the bus arrives, they never made it. And just a couple yards away from the airfield was a plane crash. And everybody on board died. And so rock and roll has now kind of lost Elvis. J.E. Lewis is in ruins. Little Richard is protesting against rock and roll. Buddy Holly's dead. Richie Valens, who was a rising star, is also dead. Same with Big Bopper is dead. They've lost 6 of the main guys. The only people left are the ones that I've said that haven't left yet. And that's how we're going to end today's video. Please leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Watch the next episode. Bye.